Welcome to Real Talk Radio 97.5. You're listening to Real Talk with my special guest in the house today from CARE, Charlene. But first, I would like to thank our sponsors, Allstate, Hardin Insurance Group, Lions Title and Trust, and also Remax Palm Realty. They're all three very, very special, near and dear to my heart because they're actively with my Remax Palm family and also in my business that I do every day. And it's nice to have partners that share beyond just everyday working environments. And we're blessed to have them and others. So thanks so much to everyone who participates and allows us to grow our viewership and spread the word of different organizations. And CARE is one of my favorites, by the way. They've been with me a long time, and I've gotten to know a lot of people and have great relationships with them. And if you have any needs, questions, or concerns, always feel free to reach out to CARE. But I'm going to start off with letting Charlene introduce herself.
Good morning, John. Good morning, everybody. My name is Charlene. I am the Outreach and Awareness Coordinator for CARE, as well as Sexual Assault Advocate. I've been with CARE a little over a year, and it was very near and dear to my heart as well. I had originally worked in medical most of my life and came from a Parkinson's, dementia, and Alzheimer's group. But because of my passion for CARE's mission and it being near and dear to my heart as well, I started as a volunteer, but then transitioned into a full-time employee. And haven't looked back since. I actually love everybody I work with. I think we have a great team here, and the cause, goes without saying.
We were talking just prior, and the event that we held in January for human trafficking was I think one of the best we've had so far, at least when I've been involved over the last 3 years. There was a full room. The vendors were amazing. We had full vendors, I think, at that point. We had a few vendors who walked around and said, I've never given away everything at my table before. That involvement from the community is essential when it comes to CARE, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're kind of that elephant in the room where that, it's a subject. I mean, for years, how many of us have, grown up with, what happens in this house stays in this house, get over it. Let's, sweep it under the rug. I know it happens, but I don't want to talk about it. People that like to keep their head in the sand. And it's not an easy subject, but I think the more that we do talk about it and we I hate to say normalize it, but I mean, normalize discussing it more.
Yeah. Normalize the conversation.
And making it more of a conversation, I think there will be more of an impact to the community as far as helping maybe prevent it, less tolerance, as well as empowering those survivors or people that might be struggling with the situation, empowering them to reach out for resources to help them, because there are resources. And, unfortunately, human trafficking is here. Florida's number 3, and it was a great turnout from what I heard from everybody, and thank you for your participation as always. And the more people I think that get involved, the better, because unfortunately it's affecting our future generations if we don't start doing something. Our kids were so buried into social media and video gaming, and that's how, especially through the human trafficking, a lot of them are preying on them. So we
have to clarify something because of a number that you threw out. 3 years ago, we were number 6, and I said we want to move down the list, not up the list. We're now number 3. That's not a winning number.
No, it's
That is
not.
a losing number. That means we're number 3 out of 50 states
Yeah.
at the
Let that
highest
marinate.
level of human trafficking.
Yeah. Yep.
And if
Let
we
that,
don't all start to talk about it and make it a general conversation, we're going to continue to go up the list. We don't want to move up this list. We want to move down the list.
right.
It's sort of like rape prevention and sexual assault. If those things don't become a topic of conversation for the dinner table, for an afternoon conversation, for an elevator ride down, how do you expect everyone to become enlightened on the scenarios? You've got a walk coming up tomorrow.
Yes,
That's
we
really
do.
important to get the word out. Can you talk a little bit about that and why it's so important for people to feel at ease when participating?
Yes. So we do have April is actually one of our awareness months. We are, we at CARE are a dual run agency here for Charlotte County, and April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So for April, we do have some events, and we are hosting a Rocket and Walk It event at the Larry Taylor Kiwanis Park in Port Charlotte tomorrow from 9 to 12. And we are inviting everybody in the community that would like to join us to walk for survivors and bring about more awareness to talk. We're going to have some music. We're going to paint rocks of awareness. And so join us to rock it, walk it, and talk it, because it's important that the more people we see come out, I think will help us find those common areas with each other and maybe make someone more comfortable in talking about an incident, or maybe reaching out for help that they might not have prior. It's, a strength in numbers, show of force. And, it's not all gloom and doom here, but we want to bring out, people into beauty, into nature, ways of healing. We like to talk with our survivors on both ends, any survivors as far as coping skills, what you can use, and being out in nature, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, music, art, things like that are ways you can channel things and emotions, things going on in your life, but at the same time, come together and maybe meet some new people that could be part of a support system you didn't know you needed.
We go through some turmoil as a country with different leaderships, and people get involved in politics and want to pick a side. There's no side in this. There really is not. It happens on both sides of the aisle. There's good leadership on both sides of the aisle that support all of these things. We all need to learn that coming together and healing, not just at this level, but even at the higher levels, is very important for us as a community, us as a volunteer source, people of like mind. Yeah, I like how you said that, because the like-mindedness is the care for others. No pun intended with the word care, but it's kind of appropriate. But the outreach to the community is one that is a struggle for a lot of people and a lot of nonprofits. And I've often said, we need to change the mindset of a nonprofit to not be, and this is no disrespect, the begging to contribute. We all need to understand that the only reason that nonprofits have that issue is that less people are getting involved. And less people getting involved means you have to approach things differently. That doesn't mean the healing has to stop. That doesn't mean the rocket or walk it has to stop. It means that it becomes that much more important for the few to engage to the masses, to get people to wake up and say, you know what, that is an issue. And if we don't participate, the issue isn't going to go away. We can't put our head in the sand.
Right.
That's a little bit of a twist of approach for some people that are out there that may be listening. But you guys have hotlines and different communication, text messages, and we've talked about that in depth.
Yes.
And the communication side of it, it's ironic that we're talking about still pushing to get people involved. It's nonstop, isn't it?
It really is. And, part of my job since I started is I'm out in the community. So I am out at table events, at Harry Chapin food donations, at, going by the Homeless Coalition. We, Megan, I think you've met our prevention coordinator. She and I tag team a lot of groups together, Boys and Girls Club, the Behavioral Health Center. I do the 28-day program. We try and get out into the community and reach a little bit of everybody. And the kids in the schools, I think it's important that we start to get involved with them more. And, just the other day we were doing a group and some of the kids were excited. They were talking about coming to the walk. And that made us feel great. It made me feel great because I thought that to me is a way for them to see other people in the community that are supporting the same cause, that might be a rock of a resource for them in the future. It might be a guidance counselor that shows up for a walk. It might be a teacher that they didn't particularly like or didn't think much of. It provides people, I think, in the community to see other people supporting things or talking about things, whether that be kids or other adults, regardless of the party lines. Like you said, it's about coming together over a common problem that has been silenced for too long. And I just think that awareness events and community events like that are so important, and hopefully continue to grow.
You guys do the Care Ball. You do a fantastic job with that, drawing in a lot of leadership from the city, the county, different businesses, other nonprofit organizations. You just went down a list of a few nonprofit organizations, but I don't want to highlight those, but I want to say that you're not limited to just care. Your care is actually connected in communications and really I think the family connection of nonprofits.
It truly takes the village, like we talk about, know, and we're all part of it. I have my table spread out here. So even in the community, when I carry things about care or our support groups, I carry Charlotte County Transit Authority. When survivors say, well, I don't have transportation, I don't have a car, I might not be able to get to this place or to that place. Same thing with the Virginia B. Andes bus. We all kind of try and support each other and carry our information just for the community, for people in the community. So even if some of our services, they might not qualify for all of our services, but some they may. And whatever we can't help them with, we can direct them to another service and vice versa. And I think that's how we are trying to fill the gaps in the community.
Resource hub.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's important for all of us to
Yep.
as a community to come together, and do that little by
You
little.
talk about the homeless coalition, um, very active organization itself. There are many out there, Kiwanis groups that are out there that are very active, that are supportive. Um, you've got that connection, that resource, but you also have the connection with the sheriff's department and the
Absolutely.
county, and everybody tenses. And I jokingly say this because I feel the same way. The minute that a police car gets behind my truck and I'm going down the road, I go, uh oh. And there's no uh oh. They're just going the direction I'm going. Um, I think we all tense up when we see police officers. I can't imagine the tenseness that someone who was going through a sexual assault, there's the shame of it all. There's the push from whoever's doing it, the rape and the fear of the consequence of, oh, I got to tell somebody, which is odd. It's not, but it's factual. Um, and the reason I say it's odd is because you would think you would want to tell, but that's where you actually shut down. We talk about all these things, and these key relationships that you guys build, they're essential when people want to have questions or learn or are going through something that they need the confidence that you guys actually provide. That's the value back to the community, isn't it?
Absolutely. So another part of CARE is we do hospital response. We have several of us that are part of a hospital response team on call. So unfortunately, if there is a sexual assault or violent crime in the county, obviously the sheriff's department is first and foremost called, and the ER generally will call us, and our advocates will go out to support, to be there as a source of advocacy and support for that survivor, because law enforcement is a great form of support, but they're there to do their job. And that, like you said, it's a very scary, intimidating experience for somebody to even be around a police officer sometimes, like you said, with them just behind you. But imagine being assaulted and in a position of being so scared and feeling so alone, and the emotions that so many of these survivors are feeling, the fear, the anger, the shame, the emotions that they go through are endless, and it can vary. I mean, you may get a survivor who's showing no emotion, but that doesn't mean that they don't need help or advocacy. People hide behind their emotions all the time, and it's important to have people that are willing to be there compassionately, non-judgmental, and a way to support them, in addition to having law enforcement there, because like they're there to do a job, to support that survivor, but at the same time to carry out their law enforcement duties and go after the perpetrator or proceed with forensics, however they need to at that point. So it's important, I think, that anybody going through that knows that they have the ability to reach out for an advocate, because we have people on call 24/7 to be there for that person, to help guide them through SANE exam, through phone calls if they need to reach out to somebody, or if you just need to sit there and hold their hand in silence.
There's volunteers of all levels, and to become a volunteer at CARE, there's all kinds of different levels you can do it. And we've talked about this in the past, and one of the simplest ways I think that other women and other men for that matter, can get involved, is that there are bags that you guys take with you for clothing and different things like that. So let's say that you are nervous about getting involved with care. How about not get nervous about buying some clothes when you're out shopping and picking up some extra underwear, extra t-shirts, extra
Yes.
leggings that can go to the hospital? That is volunteering back to care and helping them. Can you talk about the essentials there?
Absolutely. So we love our volunteers, and there are lots of volunteer opportunities on numerous levels. Um, but like you had said, if someone's not sure if they want to get directly involved, volunteering on a regular basis, there are ways to get involved and support care and the mission. We do those survivor bags, and in each bag we have clothing, new clothing, a pair of pants, clean underwear, clean shirt, a blanket, toiletries, because generally their clothing is also taken into forensics for evidence. So not only are they stripped of so many things, their everything's being taken often, their clothing, their telephones. So finding things that you can do in the community to, like you said, donate some leggings, donate some sweatpants, donate some socks or clothing for those bags. Some of our volunteers also make up those bags for us. So that's another great important way to get involved. Or you can directly get involved. Some of our volunteers do table events with us. Some will be at our walking event. They do a lot of events on the outside. Some do clerical work in the office. There's many different levels of volunteering here, and we love all our volunteers, but donations to the cause for the hospital response bags are always much needed, and we gratefully accept any donations.
You know, we do have these conversations once a month, and I know a lot of people out there have heard all of these same stories, the same information over and over again. Here's the funny thing: repetition changes things. The need hasn't changed. If there was a lot more success, I know each and every one of you would love to not have these jobs. These jobs are not going to go away. They actually seem to pick up momentum, especially when people put their heads in the ground and act like they're not there. They kind of run rampant, and they change communities. Whether you want to believe that or not, getting involved actually changes it the other direction. Willingness to, yeah, go ahead.
No, absolutely. And, I try and look at it as though, we have to be the change. If we want things to start to change, eventually somebody has to start being the change. And I think that it comes down to all of us at some point to be accountable for our part in that, however that may be. And it might be someone just picking up an outfit for a survivor's bag, and we're grateful for that. It might be listening and believing someone. Another thing this month, for Sexual Assault Awareness Month, there's a huge campaign. It's a national campaign. It's Start by Believing. So you'll see, we'll be posting pictures, but you'll see out in the community, we're asking a lot of businesses. Start by Believing campaign is a national pledge for people to start believing. When someone tells me they were abused or sexually assaulted, I pledge to believe. So we're asking people in the community, if you see us or you see these forms out there, we're asking people to sign your name, and we'll be taking pictures and we're posting them. And a lot of other agencies will be doing the same thing throughout the country should be. And we're hoping to put Charlotte County on the map, because the more of us that start by believing, hopefully there'll be less of this need for us to do as much of these awareness walks for sexual assault, because people will be less afraid to talk about it. Fear is one of those 4-letter words that unfortunately traps a lot of people and makes a lot of survivors afraid to come forward, especially for sexual assault. So we're trying to
Ironic.
change that.
Fear and trap, 4-letter words.
We could go on for a lot with a lot of 4-letter words, good and bad, though,
Yes.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
You gotta have the good and bad.
The awareness side of it, these conversations are valuable to all the community. And I want to say thank you to you guys, because while the struggle is real for people who are going through all these things, the struggle for care, Spark in Sarasota County, the struggle is real for you guys too. You guys fight through all these things. And a lot of you take the burden of what people are going through on. And I think that's the key to this whole thing too, is that the realization that healthcare workers, first responders, you can talk about all of them and kind of pile them in. Homeless coalition leaders who deal with this every day. You can go through each one of those entities, and you can find people who put the backpack on, so to speak, and kind of carry the burden for a lot of people within the community. And without them and their spirit, I don't know what we would all do. We've got to learn to wrap our hands around these local organizations. I know that on a national level, people want to target these things, but I've talked to a lot of local leaders, whether it be in Charlotte County or the Sheriff's Department, or even at the events that I get to MC with you guys in the human trafficking world. And all of them really talk about, you can worry about the communications out on a national scale. The difference is made in your neighborhood, in your local area.
Home, right?
It is. It starts at home, and home for a lot of us is our community, and we start there and we kind of build out. Leaders are formed in different ways, and they climb different ladders. But ironically, these conversations they don't follow those leaders and go away. These are hard problems. These are not problems that there's a solution for, other than consistency of message.
Absolutely.
And I brought that up earlier, and even if it's one person that you get to share this information within your day, I often say that you pay things forward, and that's how I look at things. I just pay things forward, and things get adjusted that way. And the big guy upstairs, he sends it back my direction whenever he thinks I need it. And that's kind of how I feel. And these conversations I have with you guys, I actually have this in other areas of my business, because I'm willing to speak about it. I'm willing to just say something different than everyone else is. It's not special. It's just opening your mouth and being able to say what needs to be said.
Being real. And I think that's what being real is, where I think we tend to make more connections with people. I see it. I can see it sometimes. And this is near, we all have our stories. We all have our journeys. And, I like to I kind of think of us like onions, where we all have multiple layers to us, right? I can see sometimes people multiple times throughout the course of a month. And then one day, just talking to them, sometimes the way they look at me or the way they nod their head or look down. You can tell sometimes when you're talking to somebody and you're striking a nerve, you're planting a seed, or something's resonating with them. And that's why I do what I do. That's what makes me feel like, you know what? I'm showing up today, no matter how bad my day is, no matter what's going on in my life. I was there at one point, and I'm going to show up. And showing up, I think, is a way of showing people, yeah, I'm showing up. It might not be my best day, but I'm showing up here for you. Just like I tell people at the 28-day program, you've got a lot of people there struggling, and showing up for ourselves, showing up for each other. The more people see that in the community and see other people in the community doing it, I think is going to start to make more of a difference, because it'll start to bridge those gaps. It might build more rapport. It might build a little more trust in different people and different agencies. And I think it's important that, like you said, you reach a lot of people too. And the more I think we show ourselves, talk real with people is the way we're going to get more of a reaction, I think, and more of a support system going.
So we talked a little bit before, and I'm going to ask you something now, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. Trying to prove a little point because of something you just said, but how nervous are you about having this conversation with me now compared to when you first logged in this morning?
I'm not. I was nervous just because I don't like being on camera. I do talk all the time to people.
Right.
And people say, you seem so comfortable. And I'm like, I am so nervous all the time, even going into my groups. I believe in the mission, and it's in my heart. And I believe that if we all just keep quiet and don't talk about it, nothing's going to change. So
if you're willing to fight,
for being very
well, here's the funny thing is that it's a nerve that you had prior to.
It is.
But you still had to fight through it. And if people are watching you right now, they're not seeing you nervous. No, and it's just like I said, say again, please.
I said, I do try and hide that well sometimes, if I'm nervous.
Well, but I'm highlighting this for a certain reason, and I'm going to tell you why. If you're going through something, people bury it, people push and suppress. Okay. So it could be as minor as doing a recording about a topic that you're near and dear to, and that, as soon as I start talking, I'm going to be fine.
Right.
You still had to suppress some of those things. Take that minor detail, that little piece from what the start of a live streaming event causes, or any other event that you may do. And people feel it every day.
Yeah.
Compound it with maybe months or years of assault with that, or just, the angles that people, addiction, you can throw that in here, because there is a facet of a lot of these things that may not be drug related, but there is some dopamine type things that I'm sure are directly connected with the anger side of things, the dealing with the pressure that people feast on, so to speak, on the bad side. But it also happens to victims because they can't let go. And there's a different trait there. Can you talk about that?
I think a lot of us for years have been conditioned to suppress things, to bury things down, to to avoid having to feel. Feelings get very heavy. Trauma, especially the victims, the survivors we deal with, like you said, there's multiple layers of trauma, and everybody's story is different. I think that, we try to respect everybody's situation, how they process their trauma and their healing, and we try to empower people by utilizing coping skills, whether that be through channeling the emotions through music, through art, through nature, through beautiful places that bring them a sense of peace, through surrounding themselves with certain people that make them feel safe. Filling their toolbox, so to speak, with whatever amount of tools they can, because life is heavy. Regardless of what traumas people are navigating through that they've been through, as long as we're living, we're still dealing with day-to-day life problems, situations. Like you said, there's political things going on. There's economical things going on in people's lives. Some people have children. There are, some people don't. Some people have health problems in addition to. So when I say we're like onions with multiple layers, we are. Everybody's different. However, and the way they process their trauma and reach out for help is different. So connecting with people on those levels, trying to build a rapport with people that may be hiding and suppressing a lot of what's going on with themselves, trying to reach those people and talk about ways to find their power and control. Power and control is a huge thing. Our survivors, battle all the time. Our power and control wheel, I carry it all the time. It's a huge seed we discuss with our kids, our survivors. It was a huge seed that was planted as well for me. But I like to use the analogy of a steering wheel. And when somebody has too many hands on our steering wheel in an unhealthy way, what happens? We lose control, we crash. So finding any ways we can to reach out to people when we are working with them is huge. And finding those moments, those expressions, the eye contact, or getting them to open up or even say anything, is knowing that we're planting a seed where something's resonating with them. And then people are more apt to take advice or to take services for something like this that they might not have normally considered before because they've been burying it. So focusing on things that people can do to uplift them and empower them is huge for me when I'm working with people, as well as, a lot of the other advocates here at CARE, because, it is such a tough subject and people are good at hiding behind our outer shell and facades to get through our daily life battles. But the more we keep stuffing and suppressing, it's going to keep bubbling to the surface, like that soda bottle that gets dropped or keeps, or is shaken. If we take that cap off too fast, what happens? It explodes.
Blows up. Yep.
We have a mess. And sometimes that, we can avoid that. So trying to reach people by talking to them, like you said, repeatedly, sometimes repeating the same messages, sometimes being visually out in the same areas, whether it be our volunteers, myself, some of my coworkers, our flyers, your voice. The more voices and visual things that we can put out there are all seeds that we can plant in the community. And I think we all have our roles and our parts in it. And the more we talk about it, the more we can empower each other, I think, to hopefully, especially the survivors, start the healing process and feel more empowered that they have their own tools through their own heart, things that they love themselves. And when that isn't working, they pull out other tools. And it might be a resource tool from CARE. It might be a resource tool from the Sheriff's Department. It might be a resource tool from the Homeless Coalition or the Behavioral Health Center or Habitat for Humanity. We could go on. But
yeah, you could. The connections are real. And the key to this whole thing is the real talk. I named this show Real Talk for a reason, is so that we could have a real conversation about multiple topics that are out here, and letting everyone know. When I first started at this station, they asked me to do a real estate program, and I said no, I'm not doing that. It would have been a great show. I would have talked about all kinds of things. I would have brought all kinds of different people involved. But that topic is limited to the reach of what I really had envisioned. I now have commissioners on. I have people from Parks and Recs departments on. I have business owners on. I have people from Washington, D.C. on. And talk about FPL and different topics that are out there, and all these things matter across the board, and it's essential for all of us to understand that if we don't work together, and we don't find the resources that are out there to spread different conversations, it's the same topic. You guys have multiple topics that you guys can talk about within, and we talk about human trafficking, sexual assault, rape and prevention, and all these other things. But there are so many plug and plays that happen within that, that are essential too. The bags, the outreach, the different organizations, the different contacts, the sheriff's departments, all of these things, they're multifaceted. And there's just not one target. You guys have multiple targets every day. And can
absolutely
you kind of highlight some of that? And we've got about 10 minutes left, but
multiple targets every day. So, we are trying to target everybody because it is such a widespread problem and has been forever. I have gentlemen that come up to me out in the community and they talk about when they were 18 years old, they joined Vietnam to escape their house from because they would watch their father hurt their mom. I mean, we have kids that are growing up in unhealthy unhealthy home atmospheres, don't always have the greatest support systems. We have so many people struggling economically right now from all walks of life. It doesn't matter politically what side of the fence we're on. We're all human beings. Everybody deserves to respect and to be loved and to feel safe. And I think, the right now, the more we can be out there and talking real about these problems from the children, especially the middle school level up, through the elderly, especially giving what's going on in the world right now and in the country and so much uncertainty. as times get tougher, things get tougher, and people, sometimes crime goes up, sometimes incidents go up, and unfortunately we have seen a rise in some incidents here in this county, that we haven't seen in a while. And I think it's something that we all have to open our eyes to, and continue to connect with each other on, in every real way possible, because sugarcoating it, burying our heads in the sand is not making it go away. And our kids want to be heard. And it's important that we give them a voice, and we let them know we're listening, because that's the only way we're going to start changing things, I think, moving forward. And the more we do it.
Yeah, well, the younger generation is facing a completely different, I think a different environment. I know they're facing a different environment. My wife and I were just watching the Tim Conway, Harvey Korman, Carol Burnett, laughter and best scenes, and how basic was TV then? Yeah, and
versus now.
And it's the way, I talked to my younger brother, who I got out of school and I was older, and we went and saw Rocky, and he's remembering all those stories and still thinks about it today. And the basics, we're talking about a movie theater that was packed for a matinee time slot to go see Rocky. And how basic does that sound in comparison to, oh my God, I don't want to go to the movie theater today because something might go wrong. That's what we face today in a lot of our communities. And so I think the generational gaps that we don't think about when we make general statements like, well, when I grew up, it wasn't this way. And then we stop. Okay, well, it wasn't that way, but we also didn't have cell phones. We were attached to a cord to a wall, and they don't have that today. And things have changed. Things have progressed. The news is instant gratification, instant. And we push those things. And so when you stockpile all that into what our world was, which was, let's gather up 9 people and go play ball. Let's play some basketball and let's find 3 other people. That's not what they do today. Nope. They get online, and they put their heads down, and they're on the computer system. I watched a story the other day. I was a YouTuber who was traveling Florida, and he had gone up into the older parts of Florida, and one of the ladies said was the best thing I ever did was leaving Tampa and bringing my kids to, I'm going to say it wrong, and my wife loves the area, but Micanopy, I can't think of it, Micanopia or something like that. It's a northern part of Florida. And she went there, and her kids put their computers down and started fishing because the pressure was different within that community. Think about the pressure per community, not overall. It's where you're at. It's who you're with. It's who you're getting your information from. It's your belief. Somebody said that a long time ago, you are who you hang around. Well, that's very true. You guys,
it's like being a magnet. That's why, you got to look at yourself like a magnet, what you want to attract.
Yeah. And things change. Things do change. They change for sometimes the better, sometimes for the worse. It's ironic that the parent said, the best thing that happened to her kids was moving to a smaller community where the pressure wasn't on an iPad, that it was actually on going fishing. She said her kids beg to go fishing before they go to school,
Oh,
which is fantastic. And you don't
absolutely.
see that in our cities, Northport. You don't, and Charlotte County and our different areas. You just don't see the fight. We're in the grind here. Communities are built differently today. They're advancing full steam ahead. Technology is, you have your Elon Musks of the world who, whether you like or dislike, also put a capsule in the air and brought it back and can land it by a computer and send it back up again. That was the Jetson days for us, and we were watching things take off and come back. And ironically, I named my vacuum cleaner Rosie, and that's from the Jetsons, and that's because she sweeps my floors for me as a computer. Yeah. So if you don't think things change, they do. Hoover that you push around like my mom did back in the day, they're not built the same way anymore. Nope. And they're still out there. They've just adapted differently. And we've got to learn as communities to adapt differently and to figure out how to communicate with each other and open these doorways up of communication. And really the younger generation is a big key, as you said, because I think we're losing contact with them.
And I think, and that's what we don't want, because otherwise we're going to have another generation coming into another round of unhealthy relationships, right? If we don't keep talking about these things, keep planting the seeds, repetition, showing them the stories that people don't want to know about, because they're terrible. But some of these kids are meeting people online, playing these video games, joining these apps, and they don't understand that sometimes, they think they're a lot smarter than everybody, but they don't understand who they're really talking to sometimes on the other line. There's grown adults that don't always understand who they're talking to on the other line, right? Through dating apps, through the internet in general. So yep. It adds a whole other layer of prevention and precautions we have to take. And if we don't talk about it and, the ugliness about it too, then to me, we're not doing our due diligence for our organization or to our community. If we don't,
I ran into a police officer one day, and then this was years ago, and I've put it here and remembered it. You've got people out there in this world who work hours out of a day to do what they're going to do to you. And you think you can spend 15 minutes out of your day to prevent it. If there is that entity out there that's working hours out of their day to human traffic you, and you spend 15 minutes out of a day thinking, I fixed it, I dare say you're wrong. That's why we're number 3. Getting involved with care, we've got 1 minute left. Getting involved with care at any level is essentially important for not just you, but your fellow citizens around you. Highly suggest you get involved, and I appreciate you being part of the live streaming today. And I know that you were nervous, but we've got about 40 seconds left. You want to finish us up?
Yes. Again, thank you for having us and for doing all the good work you do to get the word out for care. We would like everybody to keep in mind that this is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We do ask people on Tuesdays. Tuesdays are Teal to Heal Day. So on Tuesdays throughout the month of April, we wear teal in awareness of sexual assault survivors. Tomorrow we have our Rock It and Walk It awareness walk. It is free to participate. We do ask that you join us. It will be at Larry Taylor Kiwanis Park from 9 to 12. Feel free to join us and help show your awareness and support. We also have the Quarters Frenzy fundraiser at the 2421 Event Center, and that will be on April 10th at 6 p.m. For those of you that would be interested, it's a great time to win some prizes and bring your rolls of quarters. At the end of the month, on the 30th, is the Denim Day. For those of you that might not know about Denim Day, it is an international awareness day. It originated back in Italy when a judge overturned a court order stating that a teenage girl who was sexually assaulted by her driving instructor actually consented because she had to help remove her tight denim jeans. So on the last Wednesday of every month of April, every year, it is Denim Day. So we encourage people to wear their denims. Ladies, wear your tight denims if you like, but wear your denims in awareness for sexual assault survivors. Wear them for your daughters, your granddaughters, your nieces, your sisters, everybody out there. And, please just help us continue to spread the word. And if you know anybody out there that might be affected, please encourage them to call. We have support groups. And again, everything is free and confidential for our Charlotte County residents. So if you're not sure you're in a situation or someone is, please feel free to call our hotline 24/7, talk or text, reach out. We have advocates here 24/7 to help. And again, we're always welcoming new volunteers. So we have a great volunteer coordinator, Carolyn, and we have a new manager, Stephanie. We have a great team here at CARE on both sides of the spectrum here. So
great. Well, I appreciate your time and thank you so much. And listeners, be safe out there and don't be scared to talk, because that's all we need you to start doing. Start talking. Thanks and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlene.
Thank you, John.